Often in our lives, we are deeply inauthentic. So I want to ask you this question: who are you supposed to be? And when we ask questions like that with the word supposed, it often sparks a pretty rigid response in our mind. This is who I'm supposed to be. This image right here, this is how I'm supposed to be. No, that's not really what I'm trying to point at here. But I'm saying something like, who are you supposed to be? Engage your whole being in this question. Confront every part of you in this question, not just your mind, right? Let go of needing to form an answer immediately. More so, just sit with the question of who are you supposed to be? Allow yourself to just be deeply present, be deeply connected to your body, feeling sensations, feeling emotions, just observing your mind, observing what arises. You're trying to attune to what's natural to you in this moment, not what your mind, inserts, but what's really natural to you. Right? We got to dig into your core essence, into your signature frequency. I talk about authenticity a lot, right? So in many ways, a lot of the things we do are inauthentic, and you need the capacity to just call yourself out when you're being inauthentic. You need the capacity to reflect on yourself and just be honest about what's really going on. Where are your behaviors actually coming from? Are they coming from ego? Are they coming from a particular role that you're playing? Are they coming from emotional wounds, certain patterns of psychological tendencies? You want to really deeply inquire into why you're doing the things that you're doing. Do they come from intrinsic motivation, from your natural guidance system? Do they come from a spontaneous expression of who you are? Does it feel alive, or does it feel like it's robbing you of energy? So I have a lot of videos on authenticity. And in this one, I'm just going to encourage you to simply be who you're supposed to be. Again, removing the rigidity of any potential answer that you have when I ask that question. This is more so allowing yourself to be as you are. You're just allowing yourself to exist as you are in this moment, allowing your body to just relax, allowing yourself to be present, allowing yourself to not be so tense all the time. When we investigate why we're doing things, we actually figure out that a lot of the things that we're doing are coming from shadow, emotional wounds, things we don't want to see, things we like to deny, things we like to project, things we don't want to own up to, things that exist inside of our minds that we don't want to recognize. We find out that a lot of the things that we're doing are coming from survival, old conditioning, various patterns that we established early on in our lives that no longer serve us. We find that a lot of the things that we're doing create a lot of unnecessary suffering. And as we begin to simply allow this stuff to pop up in our awareness, as we really dedicate to giving these parts of us attention and love and healing them, as we dedicate ourselves to the spiritual path, the path of healing and raising our consciousness, a lot of this stuff actually begins to get what it's really looking for. A lot of these parts of you begin to get what they're really looking for. A lot of these wounds begin to get what they really want, which is ultimately presence. A lot of the parts of you that block you from being authentic, from being who you're supposed to be, from allowing yourself to be who you are right now, right? A lot of those parts that prevent you from doing that, they just want presence. They want attention. They want to be cared for. Want to feel safe. And as you give that to yourself, you can settle into who you are. As you give that to yourself through self-actualization work, through shadow work, through ego transcendence work, self-transcendence work, as you spiritual work, consciousness work, as you give that to yourself through these higher needs, right, without ignoring your lower needs, without spiritual bypassing, you're able to open up. Deep authenticity is something that you can actually do consistently every day. It becomes harder to be inauthentic than to be authentic. Right? So a lot of the things that we do can actually just come from roles that we play, right? Forms of conditioning that we picked up. And you have to go to your real and unique makeup, right? Transcend the ego, but include it, right? You don't have to kill the ego. In fact, build a healthy ego. Counterintuitively, that helps you to move beyond it. Ego transcendence doesn't just destroy the ego. Ego transcendence allows the ego to actually flourish counterintuitively. You open up and you allow the flow of life to move and express itself through you, which feels very, very enlivening and authentic and healing and healthy. So go to your actual unique self. Go to your actual personal makeup. And this is difficult because you got to learn how to think systemically. You got to learn how to examine the underlying structures of your psyche, the underlying patterns of your psyche that prevent you from doing that, which is going to require a lot of self-actualization work. It's going to require some consistent effort on your part. It requires dedication to this stuff. It requires more than just watching my videos. Perhaps it's time to get off my videos. You don't need to binge them. I don't want you here if you're binging my videos to distract yourself from doing the actual work that you have to be doing. It's time to get the meditation cushion, to sit on it, to start feeling the emotion, to start just walking in nature, to start reading the book. It's time to heal the internet addiction. Right? It's time to just go to those emotional wounds that exist inside of you and just give them the attention that they need. It's time to connect with other people. Right? Don't be on my channel if it's genuinely not serving you, right? Don't be on my channel if it's fueling something inside of you that needs to be looked at, if it's a way of avoidance. Learn to observe yourself without judgment, just watching yourself and seeing what's really true. Learn to just observe your mind, observe your behaviors, observe your tendencies, observe your emotions, and then see what really feels authentic to me. Ask yourself, is this authentic to me? Where is this coming from? What's motivating this? Is my motivation for this coming from a need for recognition, fame, status, approval, money? Did I say money? Some external reward of some kind, some gift? Or is it coming from intrinsic motivation, from my own curiosity, my own sense of purpose, meaning, passion, creativity, my desire to master something just for the love of the thing itself? Is it coming from my natural guidance system? These are two very different places. So get clear on where these things are coming from, where your behaviors are coming from. Are they coming from wounds? Are they coming from the core of your actual self? Are they coming from the essence of who you are? There's a distinct feeling in the expression that you have to learn to attune to through meditation, through mindfulness. You use mindfulness as a way to inquire into your mind, inquire into your being. So what really fits with your unique identity, and how can you actually be in integrity with that? What are the day-to-day structures, patterns, habits that fit you, and how can you actually be in integrity with those consistently? And this doesn't really mean like hard work, right? I'm not really emphasizing like you got to work hard and consistency, right? In that sort of like grind set style fashion. But how can you attune to your internal guidance system consistently? How can you attune to your needs consistently? How can you attune to simply what fits your needs in this moment consistently? Maybe right now you have the need to get food, right? What kind of food you're going to choose? Is it going to be healthy and nourishing? What kind of people you're going to interact with? Are they going to be giving you energy? Or are they going to be draining energy? Maybe right now you just need to do nothing. We have the need to do nothing. We have the need to simply be, to simply exist. This is related to self-transcendence, the need to transcend the ego. To just allow yourself to be in the present, not trying to figure anything out, not trying to live up to any expectation, not trying to fit any standard, to just exist. Maybe that's what you need to do. Get clear about your needs. Right? What are the wounds that cover up your real essence? Childhood conditioning, fear of judgment, unworthiness, abandonment, trauma suppression wound, and avoiding the pain, of old wounds, right? Over-identification with the ego, survival mode, right? Get clear about what wounds actually impact you consistently, right? Learn to just write them down, right? Write down the things I said as well, right? A lot of these probably apply to you. If you're a human being, I can absolutely guarantee you wounds from childhood, fear of judgment, deep sense of unworthiness. Unworthiness is massive in our culture, right? I think it's also kind of just rooted in our sort of religious traditions that have been passed down for so long. There's a deep sense of not good enough, being judged by God, things like this, that regardless of whether or not you're religious, they're kind of baked into our cultural consciousness, and they find their way into you through the information that gets shared, through your interactions with people, through your interactions with various institutions, right? We're sinners, we're bad, we're evil. That's a massive aspect of Christianity, right? Our naked bodies are something to be ashamed of. They're not human, right? They're not like, being human is something to be ashamed of, I mean, right? I misspoke. Right? Our needs are something to be ashamed of. We're not worthy of just like existing as human beings, and that's enough. We need to repent our sins. Right? All sorts of forms of unworthiness plague all sorts of people. Abandonment wounds, right? The feeling of basically being all alone in the world, abandoned by everyone. This is a wound of the ego, really, right? I'm isolated, I'm separate from the rest of the world. Trauma suppression, basically shutting down parts of yourself to avoid feeling old pain, right? Assuming that you're mentally stable enough, you're safe enough to actually explore these parts of you. All this pain's gonna be stored in the body. Learn to apply attention to it through mindfulness. Check out the therapy and healing section of my book list. Right? If you need genuine help, make sure you actually get that. But my teachings mostly assume that you're a pretty typical person who's fairly mentally stable. Right? Over-identification with the ego. Over-identification with the self. Right? Survival mode. Right? Being in fight or flight. Right? You're not able to slow down and just connect to your true being. You're always just looking for the next thing. You need to survive. Right? No, there's a lack of self-actualization work and self-transcendence work. So the essence of this video is really just allowing yourself to be who you are, being who you're actually supposed to be, not who you're conditioned to be, not what you think you should be, right? Not who you believe you should be, but who you're actually supposed to be, right? Don't get too stuck up on the language, right? The language, I'm just kind of here to like point you towards something. Use the questions to just, make cracks in your current patterns, right? Because yourself and your beliefs, they're all patterns. There's all these patterns reinforcing each other. Use these questions not to just, potentially reinforce a pattern. And, you don't have to get an immediate answer to a question, but use these questions just to make some cracks in yourself. Use these questions to just kind of break through some patterns so you can see something different. Use these questions just to inspire curiosity and just sit with them. Just sit with them and be curious about what emerges naturally, right? Use these questions over and over and over and over again. Keep digging. That's it for this video. If you're interested in working with me one-to-one, you can apply to do so. Link is in the pinned comment. Take it easy.